This week on HomeKit News, the Auralic A50 Plus digital amplifier with AirPlay. This week I'm looking at something that's not actually a HomeKit product but is AirPlay compatible, namely the Auralic A50 Plus, a wireless multi-room digital amplifier. I should state from the beginning that this is not AirPlay 2, only the original AirPlay. As mentioned, it's a digital amp and uses its own multi-room solution, however. It's DLNA compatible and also works with Spotify Connect, as well as a ton of other streaming options like TuneIn, Amazon Music and Tidal, for example. Of course, as it's AirPlay, it'll also work with Apple Music. There's lots in the box, so let's unpack it all right away, starting with a very well laid out manual in English. The amp itself, which seems to be made of aluminium and plastic, making it feel solidly built. Here are some specs, so pause the video if required, although I'll be looking at it closer in a bit. Also included is a stereo phono to phono option and a stereo phono to 1/4" stereo jack cable. There's a rather hefty power brick that uses an IEC or UK main socket, along with a 2 meter long IEC power cable which works with all voltages. One nice addition is a remote to control your amp should you want quick access to various controls like power, volume and mute, but also track skipping buttons, controls for different input modes and even specific audio controls for EQ. The amp uses Phoenix connectors with one provided for your speakers, and it also comes with antennas for both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and if that wasn't enough, they even provide a little screwdriver. Let's have a closer look at the amp itself, which comes in at 4.4 inches deep, 4.7 inches wide and 1.46 inches tall. You get an LED indicator on the front as well as an IR receiver for the remote. The back of the amp is where it really gets quite impressive, with an Ethernet port for a wired connection and a USB port for USB sticks, etc., along with connectors for the aforementioned antennas. You get stereo line-in along with a subwoofer output, an optical input for digital audio and even a micro USB port to connect to a computer. I only have powered studio speakers in my setup, so Auralic kindly provided a pair of their satellite speakers for me to test the amp with. You can pause the video at this point for the specs if required. Each speaker comes with screws, a Phoenix connector for the speaker cable and a mounting bracket to affix it to a wall or ceiling. The speakers are designed to withstand outdoor use to an extent, with an IP66 rating, and are available in black and white. These two feel well made, although they really are designed for more higher end frequencies, so it's probably better to use a subwoofer or additional speakers for more decent bass. With everything wired up and connected to the amp itself, as you can see here, I can begin going through the features. So, as already mentioned, as this is AirPlay 1 and not AirPlay 2, there's nothing in the way of HomeKit control. If I open up one of the HomePod minis in the Home app, you can see the amp isn't showing up as an option, unfortunately. There's not a lot you can do with AirPlay 2 in HomeKit automations anyway, so in some respects it's not such a big deal. That said, if we go into Control Center, you can see here that the A50 Plus is available as an option. You just can't select it at the same time as other AirPlay 2 speakers to get multi-room audio, which is an AirPlay 2 feature. Obviously this is only from my iPhone, but as you'll see next, this also applies to Apple computers too. So if we hop over to my iMac and open the Apple Music app on Monterey, I'll just dig out some of my own music for copyright reasons. A bit of shameless self-promotion here, but you can find Afro Elements on Apple Music in case you like a bit of jazz funk. Anyway, if I select the AirPlay icon, it's currently set to just the iMac as an output. I'll play a track here and go back to the AirPlay list, and as you can see, the A50 Plus as an option. Strangely, Apple Music allows me to select other speakers at the same time, although they won't be in sync. You can also include any audio coming from your Mac by selecting the AirPlay icon at the top of the screen with all the same options and restrictions, so you can select the A50 Plus and control the volume from there. I'll just take us back to the iPhone for a bit, and if we go into the iPhone's Bluetooth settings, you can see that I can connect the A50 Plus to my iPhone like any other Bluetooth device. If I then go back into the AirPlay section in Control Center, you can see not only do I have the Bluetooth option now, but I still have the AirPlay option if needed. In the 4Stream app, which Aurylic uses for its products, you can see in My Music I can select audio that's on my phone from either Apple Music or iTunes, and I can even select music on a USB stick that I've got plugged into the back of the amp. Music on a USB stick might seem a little bit archaic nowadays, but it still has its uses, especially when you consider that you don't have to stick with just MP3. I can play these files directly from within the app, although artwork doesn't show, unfortunately. Additionally, if you want to use the app for your music, you can set favourite playlists, which can either be radio stations, tracks or complete albums, all for quick access. As previously mentioned, you have control over other streaming platforms, so everyone gets a look in with this amp, and controls for the different input methods are also available on the same page. As AirPlay is still a viable option, Apple TV also gets access to the A50 Plus. In the video and audio settings section, you can set up the A50 Plus as a temporary audio output, just like AirPlay 2 output options, although once again AirPlay 1 doesn't allow multiple sources at once. These same settings are also quickly accessible via the home screen by just long pressing the home button on your Apple remote and hitting the AirPlay button. So here's the included remote working with the A50 Plus, and selecting the different input methods is reflected in the colour of the front LED, which can actually be turned off if necessary. Only the USB and Bluetooth options will show a flashing LED if nothing is connected. The play, pause and skip features seem to work well enough, so it's worth keeping this around for at least basic quick control. Even though neither iteration of AirPlay get much love in HomeKit, there are some things you can do with Siri shortcuts or even automations involving NFC capabilities on your phone and NFC stickers. In this basic automation, I can quickly switch the playback destination on my phone to the A50 Plus by simply scanning an NFC sticker. Further still, I can use Siri shortcuts to give me options as to where to stream my music using the shortcuts menu option. Finally, to the pros and cons, and Apple has always done a good job with AirPlay, and I've been taking advantage of it for a long time for both audio and video, so I couldn't live without it. There are so many input options for the A50 Plus, it's hard to complain in all honesty when it comes to choice, and even if it looks a bit of a plain Jane, I actually like the less distracting look, to be honest. Likewise, I'm a sucker for wired connections, and so with an Ethernet port this is another pro. I'm not a massive fan of streaming services, but if you are, then with all the options available besides Apple Music, everyone gets a chance to use the A50 Plus. The one rather large con is that it's not AirPlay 2, of course, which is a real shame. Personally, I don't mind too much as my music tastes aren't shared by anyone else in the house, so audio is restricted to wherever I am, and multi-room audio isn't needed for the most part. But if you do use it a lot, then you might be better off with some of their other more DIY amp options that do include AirPlay 2. That's our take on the Aurylic A50 Plus digital amplifier. I've not touched on the audio quality of the amp itself, as I'm not really an expert, but I've included links to a few videos that are more qualified to speak on this subject, so do check them out. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, as it would make me very happy. Until the next video, stay safe and go and buy some Afro Elements music. No, really.
It's no exaggeration to admit that we don't do like